Hi, I'm Claire Tompkins, the Clutter Coach, and this is the Organize Your Life podcast. I am passionate about organizing because it makes my clients' lives so much easier, more relaxed, and with more time to spend the way they want to. In every podcast in the show, I'll lay out a simple organizing concept, and I'll tell you why it's important. I'll also include an action step at the end so you can start practicing right away. My specialty is chunking down this big topic so it's not overwhelming. That's the concept for this podcast, which is based on my first book, 52 Simple Ways to Get Organized. The book is available on my website and on Amazon. I work with clients in person in the Berkeley, California area and via email and Skype, so you don't have to be local to me. Visit the Hire tab on my website or email me at claire@cluttercoach.net. If you like the show, please rate it and review it. To do that, go to my website, cluttercoach.net, and scroll down for the show notes. Each show notes post has a link to leave a review in iTunes. I would so appreciate that. Okay, on to the podcast. This is podcast 57, and it's about developing your vision for being organized. I talked a little bit about this topic in podcast 50, which was called Stay Focused on You. In that podcast, I emphasized that it just doesn't matter what all the books say, or even what I say. You should have your own vision of what being organized looks like. This podcast is not based on a chapter of my book, but it is based on material in my free e-course, which you can find on my website. Today's episode is called Develop Your Vision. Why is this so important? Because you need to make it your own. It's helpful and wonderful to find inspiration and ideas from, say, someone like me, but then you need to put your own stamp on it. You need to take ownership of it. Make it your own, so that you become invested in it. If you're simply doing something because the authorities say you should, then it's going to be too easy to let it fall by the wayside when the going gets tough. You'll be tempted to say, well, it wasn't really me, all that organizing I was doing. Now, I don't want to belabor the toughness of getting organized, but it does involve building new habits, and that takes time and effort. Depending on where you are right now, it may involve significant lifestyle changes, and those don't occur overnight. But let's not get too gloomy about that. Back to developing a vision. If you're listening to this podcast, you have already noticed that there are areas in your life that could use less clutter and more organization, and you're looking for ideas. It's already started to bother you. You might have been thinking about it for a while. Although you know there's a problem, you don't really know yet what to do about it. You could plunge in and start reading organizing books and applying the ideas. Or you could have a shopping spree at the Container Store and then come home with a bunch of storage units that you now need to figure out where to put. Don't do that. Instead, take an objective look at your space. This may be easier said than done. Choose a time to do this when you feel calm and can devote time to it, when you're not preoccupied by other issues and not in a rush. In podcast 51, I gave some ideas for how to get into that objective frame of mind. You need to be able to see your surroundings dispassionately so you can come up with ideas that aren't based on shame, denial, or hopelessness. You want to get away from that. You'll notice the things that you don't like, but instead of rushing to change them, let yourself use that to envision what you'd prefer, based on what you see now and what you've seen or experienced that you like better. If you're not sure yet what you'd prefer, you need to back up and do some research. You might start a Pinterest page and collect images of rooms that you love for whatever reason. Cut photos out of magazines. They don't even have to be of rooms or even houses. To make your vision really juicy and really you, collect images that just make you feel happy and calm, ones that make you feel the way you want to feel in your home. That point is key. We're calling this a vision, but it's really not just about what you see. How you feel is the most important. But most of us are primarily influenced by the visuals. Add in other senses like touch, smell, and hearing. Consider dark and light. I personally like as much natural light as possible. It makes me feel energized and happy. But others prefer a darker look because it's cozy and it's snug. Then move on to what it's like to be in your space, doing the things you do there. How does it feel to sit at your desk, for example? Many people gravitate to using a kitchen counter or the dining table as their desk. Sometimes they want to be in a more active part of the house. That makes sense. I've heard clients say they never use their actual home offices because they feel too isolated there. It can also mean that you like something about having a big table or being able to see through a window out onto the street. Others like the compactness of using a kitchen counter because they can't take away too much space from what they need for the kitchen. Take some time to notice and identify the qualities that you like. You can also start small with your vision. Take one little area, like a shelf in a bookcase or the corner of your desk or maybe your nightstand. Make it a place you'll see regularly. Treat it like a little altar to organization. Make a mock-up on there of something that you saw on Pinterest. Have it be clear except for one or two items, if that's what the look you want. Add artwork or colors if you like. I had one client who chose the corner of her desk to do this, and that corner was in line with the door of her office, so she would glance at it whenever somebody came to the door. In this little corner, she put a card with an image that she particularly loved and a small statue that inspired her. So your next auction, clearly, is to start that vision. Either use that last idea I gave you of starting small, or get into that objective state of mind and make some notes about what you observe. Hey, thanks for listening. I'm Claire Tompkins, the Clutter Coach. If you like the show, I'd love it if you'd leave a rating and review in iTunes. You can subscribe, too, so the podcast will be ready and waiting for you to listen to. You'll find the show notes on my blog at www.cluttercoach.net, and you can check out my store to find books I've written and a whole bunch of other stuff. If you're a fan of the show, you can become a patron on patreon.com for as little as $1 a month. You can find my page by going to the Patreon website, that's Patreon, and searching on Clutter Coach. I'll still post the podcast free of charge, but I've got some cool rewards for folks who want to help me make the show even better. Come back next week for a new podcast.